The JSE is firmer with global peers mixed as investors take in that the U.S. Federal Reserve might not cut interest rates as much as markets had hopes. Grant Nader, Benguela Global Fund Managers Senior Portfolio Manager, joins us now for an analysis on the latest market updates. Grant, very good afternoon to you. Thank you for your time. What factors are driving the local index and Rand in afternoon trade? I mean, markets are seemingly trading firmer at the moment.
Yeah, certainly there is a little bit of a positive feel around. I think there's a couple of factors at play. As you said, the dollar, post the Fed or post the strong US data, the dollar started to strengthen and put pressure on a number of emerging markets. But that's taking a back step today. So the Rand is firmed, and that's encouraging. And then, importantly, we had China come out with another stimulus, series of market support measures. They're going to buy some of those ETFs. They're going to cut the reserve requirement ratio. That came into effect this morning.
BP reported... Together. Okay, we seem to have a little break in transmission. I hope that we can still hear you on our end.
Okay.
Yes.
How's that?
Much better. Thank you. Yeah.
Right. No problem. So I was simply saying that the Chinese stimulus measures are coming into effect. The cutting reserve requirements for the banking system. And then, of course, they're buying stocks. They're actually actively buying stocks in the market, and they are banning short selling. So all those measures are there to stimulate the market, and we're seeing a lot of that feed through into Naspers and Prosus, which have been trading very well. They are the leading sort of dragging the market up this morning. So that's really positive, even though the mining resources are still on the laggard side. But broadly speaking, there's still a good buying around in some of the South African names, financials, retailers. Still a lot of interest in those names. So overall, it is positive, and it's nice to see a bit of a bid in the market for a change.
Yeah. In company news, BP reported fourth quarter earnings of $3 billion, exceeding forecasts. Talk to us about that performance.
A very strong update, and I think these oil companies have been sold off on the back of oil prices, which over the course of last year fell significantly. But in fact, what stands out is that they are still incredibly cash generative. So in this announcement, they've actually increased their buyback program from, I can't remember what it was, but up to $14 billion over the next 2 years. Now, that equates to around 17% of the company's market cap. So almost a fifth of this company they plan on buying back over the next 2 years. So that just shows you how much cash they have. And at the same time, their debt is at the lowest level in 10 years. So despite the fall in oil prices, they're making good money out of their gas trading. Refining margins have come under pressure, but nonetheless, these oil companies are spewing large amounts of cash, and they remain something worth looking at as an investor.
Yeah. Lesaka Technologies has acquired data analytics and merchant services company TouchSides. Help us make sense of the specs of this deal and what Lesaka stands to benefit from this acquisition.
So I think this is actually quite an interesting acquisition. Lesaka, of course, you'll know, is a financial services and fintech operator. So this company they're buying has point of sales in the taverns, in a lot of the informal sector in South Africa, which is actually significantly larger than most people realize. So in this particular case, they have exposure to 10,000 informal sector taverns. And not only that, they actually supply them software as a service. So they actually enable data analytics, inventory management, sales, pricing management, etc. So they're getting a rich database of information that they can mine and try and understand that sector better. And of course, then Lesaka themselves will harness that technology, one, and two, the data, to grow further into that market. So I think it's a sensible acquisition. It makes sense. There's a large opportunity in a largely underserviced informal sector in South Africa.
Paper and packaging group Mondi has bought the Canadian Hinton pulp mill for just over 94 million rand. I mean, what growth prospects are expected from this acquisition?
So it's a little bit misleading. 94 million rand for Mondi is a drop in the ocean. It's really small, but actually strategically it's a very smart move. So this is a step toward a bit more deep integration in their facilities. So they don't usually do this level of operations in their manufacturing, but this is going to secure supply. They have a large kraft paper operation in North America and in fact all over the world. And if you remember, kraft paper is, if you're buying Checkers 6060 or Woolies Dash, those brown bags that they come in, that's kraft paper packaging, and the demand for that, as we know, for sustainable packaging is growing everywhere. It's global, it's Europe, it's America, South Africa even. So they've got a large presence there, and this is going to secure some of the input, the pulp, into making that kraft packaging. And then they have a further plan to build out on top of that supply another 8 billion rand of investment into a kraft mill, a kraft packaging plant. So this is part of a much bigger plan. It's good forward thinking. They're going to maintain their leadership with this. And it's, of course, the typical Mondi style, very strategic, careful management that spends wisely. And so I think it sounds small, but it's actually strategically quite a good move, and it signals better things and bigger things in the pipeline.
Very well. Thank you so much for that breakdown of the latest in the world of business. A market update. Grant Nader from Benguela Global Fund Managers, who's a senior portfolio manager, telling us about the latest in that space. Still to